Hey, Think Realty, thanks so much for watching today. Thanks for joining the podcast. It's our privilege to come to you each and every week with great content and with great people that are going to bring education and information to you in the real estate investment space. Before I jump in, I want to say a quick thank you to our podcast sponsor, which is CV3 Financial Services. When you're taking on a new real estate investment project, having a trusted lender is key. Count on CV3 for your fix and flip, rental, cash out, rate and term refi needs. Visit cv3financial.com/think realty. That's cv3financial/think realty. Our show today has a guest by the name of Ian Horowitz. Ian, thanks for joining us on the show today.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good. So obviously you are in the commercial space, and we'll jump into that here in just a second. You've got a really, really unique story, and I'd like to kind of jump into that first so that our listeners and viewers can understand who you are. You and your partner are retired firefighters, correct?
Yep. My business partner and I, we were both firemen for the city of Baltimore. If you watch The Wire, that is where we worked, in the heart of it. If you saw the riots that happened in Baltimore, that's where we spent a majority of our careers. And if you saw where the boat recently crashed into the bridge a couple months ago, well, that's not exactly where we worked, but it's in the same general area.
Baltimore's a tough city, man. I spent some time there in college, and it's almost like ground zero there a little bit. It's tough.
It can be, but there's a lot of opportunity there. If you're willing to grind it out, it's a great place to cut your teeth. That's what we did. But overall, I think it gives you a lot, like you said, it can be a hard place to operate, which I think makes you more nimble to the market, coupled with our background of being firemen, is what has allowed us to have a lot of success in the real estate industry.
I'm always interested, how people get into real estate. I'm a third generation real estate investor, so it just kind of like happened naturally to me. But someone like you guys, you're a fireman, you're out doing that, and somehow you took a hard right turn, and now you're real estate investors. Like, how did that transition happen?
Yeah, so I wish it was a hard right turn, and we knew that we were going to turn our lives that way, but it wasn't. What happened was we got hired in 2007 and 2008 respectively, which going into it, you're like, cool, government job, whatever. We honestly were firemen because we loved doing what we do. However, side by side with that, you're giving up pay for security of benefits, for security of job, for security of retirement. Well, what happens in 2008? The end of the world happens, right? And then they start furloughing us. They start messing with our pension system. Healthcare starts rising. They start changing our schedule. They start shutting companies down. There's no overtime available to us. And I'm like, dude, I'm about to turn, I'm approaching 30. My wife wants to have kids. And I'm like, dude, there's got to be a better way. I can't work overtime. So basically what happened was, to me, they forced our hands to go find another way. And for me, what happened was I started thinking about, how can I make money while I'm asleep at work? How can I make money? God forbid something happens to me. I mean, we're in an industry that we can get killed or completely incapacitated for a really long period of time. How am I going to take care of my wife and kids? And I was like, well, if someone lives in a house, that means I'm getting paid every second of the day. Well, that's got to be the answer. And simultaneously, my business partner got caught up in some of the 2008 financial washout and had some cash issues and some financial issues. So he starts wholesaling. And that really was our start to get into it. And we're not classically trained from a real estate background, from family members or from a college. It was, I know how to do construction. I know if I buy this house and I think it can rent for this, this is how we're going to do it. And it was nothing more than that. So for us, we're working 20, at that time we were working 24 or 2 10-hour days, 2 14-hour nights, and 4 days off. It allowed us to work before our night works and our 4 days off to go grind this business out. Then we wound up working 24-hour shifts where we would have 5 days off in a row. And it's like, yeah, we could run a business because we would go to work. While we were at work, we could still answer our phone, do our things. But we still had a lot of a free time to be able to go out and manage our projects, give us all week and navigate what we had to do to get our projects done.
I think more often than not, your story is actually typical, right? There's very few people that just jump into real estate and do it as a living. It's like so many times it's a migration. It's like it's either out of necessity or they needed a side hustle or they just needed some extra cash. And so many kind of first generation people do it that way, right? Like it's out of need and necessity, and understanding, what real estate can do and understanding the wealth that it can bring. It's like people naturally go into it. And oftentimes it's actually sometimes it's detrimental to them, right? Like if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a partner and you don't understand how to, do construction. I mean, at least you guys had a hand up in understanding how to do construction, stuff like that. Because so many people just watch HGTV and they think like, man, I can just jump into this, make some extra money, and they get crushed even more. So you migrated into real estate. You start doing wholesaling and all that stuff, but now you've gone into more commercial. So tell me, like, obviously that was the genesis, but now how did you go from like your wholesaling houses to what you do today, and then kind of explain what you do today?
Yeah, so I think it'd be easier if I explain what we do today. So currently we own and operate a lot of commercial real estate, mostly self-storage. However, we're pretty opportunistic to the market, and we have our friends and family co-invest with us. Now, if you take it back 10 years, I mean, this is 10 years of us operating to build almost a 9-figure portfolio. But again, we're not classically trained. So what happened was we got in, we started doing a house here, a house there. And guys, like we started out as, hey man, I just want 10 houses. And if those 10 houses pay off, I'll have like $1 million and I'll be able to sell those 10 houses like 30 years from now from when I retire.
Sure.
Well, that turned into something way more. And what happened was over time, as we started to build the single family rental portfolio, it was like, man, we got 100 houses. It's like, why can't we find an apartment building and just do this in one location? And it was really just the natural progression of building cash flow, building cash, stumble on a 7-unit building, stumble on a 23-unit building, a 44-unit building, a 76-unit building. And we just kind of stepped up. But what happened was, as we were going through all this, doing our single family real estate, we would tell our friends and family about it and say, hey, if you got 20 grand and want to lend on this deal, or 50 grand, you want to lend on this deal, whatever it was, and put them in as first position lien investors. And they got used to receiving money from us from interest payments. And then as we approached the larger deals that we could offer equity on, we were able to make that transition. And a lot of this had to do, again, with the market gets priced out. We can't find good deals. We want to get our friends and family involved in real estate because we're having all this success. We love what we do. How do we get them involved? Not on a single family house that only cash flows $300 to $500 a month. How can we really provide them good returns? So coupled with the market and coupled with doing the right thing and getting up and doing the same thing over and over and over again. My joke is, hey, we're dumb enough to get up and do it every single day, but it really pays off because we do the same thing over and over and over again. And then we can go to our friends and family and say, hey, here's our process. This is how it works. Do you want to jump in or do you not? And it's allowed us to buy bigger and bigger and bigger deals. I mean, our biggest deal to date we did was a $13 million acquisition of a self-storage portfolio, which feels really good for two dudes that started out buying $25,000 houses in the hood of Baltimore, doing subsidized rentals. So it's been a long road to get to where we are today.
Yeah. It's like you don't get rich overnight, right? It takes a lot of time. And so many times there's a promise to, quick riches in real estate, and it just doesn't happen. Like so very few people get that. So now you have a company called Equity Warehouse. And that really is allowing others to participate in these deals with you. And so now you've kind of set it up where you're offering equitable type of investments into self-storage and or other commercial things like that. And so you're typically going after accredited investors, or like what's kind of the end goal, and who is it that you're serving?
Yeah, I mean, we really like to serve first responders. I mean, obviously, if you're interested in investing in real estate, we'll have conversations. But to me, like the first 76-unit apartment building we did, which was our biggest deal, or our first deal that we raised capital for. And at the time, it was the biggest capital raise of $1 million because the owner was going to owner finance 90% of it. We're like, this is a home run. And when I went to the securities attorney, I said, this is non-negotiable. Like, I will take on the risk, but I want to help the other firemen that I know. I want to help the nurses. I want to help the teachers. I want to help first responders, military. I want those people to be able to invest in our deals. So don't quote me on what letter syndication we have or whatever it is, but we set up the right one that allows us to take non-accredited investors with pre-existing relationships, because that's the base that we want to handle. Now, look, firemen are pretty good at marrying up and finding the lawyers and the doctors, and
It's all
there
those
are
fireman
some accredited
calendars.
ones.
It's all
What's
the
that?
fireman. It's the fireman calendars. That's what draws them in, you know?
Yeah, I missed the calendar. I'm working on it, but they're able to marry. Look, some people are able to. I don't want to say it like that, but like they have good family dynamic, family
Right.
relationships that allow them to be accredited investors. But there's also ones that are just great savers and they want to invest in real estate. And we wanted to make sure that there's opportunity for
Sure.
them because up until, probably the Jobs Act, like syndicating real
Mm-hmm.
estate, being able to buy into equity was like the rich man's club, dude. And it's
Mm-hmm.
getting more and more mainstream, but I
It
still
is.
think it's a lot of rich man's club based on how people are raising capital. We really want to work with people that we've built a relationship with, that have similar backgrounds, that we can
Mm-hmm.
go out and enjoy a beer with. And more importantly, have the same mindset. If we're going to own this thing, we might own it forever because it's that good of an asset,
Right.
or we might sell it because it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. But we want people that have the same general mindset as us, that makes it a much better investment and easier to operate and have good conversations around it.
I love it. Obviously a huge fan of real estate. I've got a lot of real estate, but I think I'm even more, in love with the mission that you're on, to serve this group of people that really deserves opportunity. And in that field, right? Like they're so hyper focused on serving others and going to work every day and putting their life on the line. Um, and they wake up one day and they don't have enough money for retirement. They don't have, everything that they need, or like you said, they get hurt or they're in some sort of catastrophic injury and they can't, help their family. And so I love the mission behind what you're doing too. That's awesome.
Yeah, we right after we left, three of our friends got killed. Three of them that we worked, like I worked with, we were directly in the same firehouse on the same shift. But there's other stories besides that. Like I'd sit around, you talk about like, hey, they go to retire, they don't have anything, and they're working 40 years. I'm like, well, that is not a quality of life. I would sit
Right.
around one lieutenant, he worked in the riots in the 60s and the mid 2000s. And I said, Lieutenant, what are you still doing here? He's like, I can't retire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is insane. You've been here this long. You haven't figured out how to make your money work for you. And really, I want to make sure that guys have the opportunity at 25 years when their contract's up and they can collect their pension, that they can leave and they've put money away and they have additional dividends coming in, that they don't have to. This was my most common one I heard. Hey, so-and-so, you're going to retire. What are you going to do? I'm going to go get a job at Home Depot or Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You just gave up 25 or 30 years of your life to go work for someone else? No,
Right.
you've given that up. Now go enjoy it with your family. Go enjoy the
Yeah.
things that you want to enjoy. And that's the power of money. Too many of us, especially blue collar field and especially is we work with those that can't see the video, we work with our hands and we don't allow the money that we save to actually work for us. We get caught up in the system. And that's what we're trying to spread the message on and get more first responders, blue collar workers to be able to get involved in real estate and really produce dividends for themselves, whether they do it themselves or they find someone like myself that they can co-invest with.
Yeah, I love it. It's something that I push all the time, is that I believe that commercial real estate especially is a great place to double your money every 4 to 5 years, right? Like typically in commercial, you can get enough returns that you're doubling your money. And so, the average person in America needs around $2.3 million to retire. But the problem is that if you think of it this way, like 401ks, it would take you, based on the current rate, 14.4 years to double your money in a 401k. Well, in commercial real estate, if you could double it every 4 or 5 years, you could literally start with $100,000. I know that's a lot, but think about like people they could get equity out of their house. They could scrimp and scrounge and they could if they get 100 grand, even 50 grand, but 100 grand, if you started today and you could double that every 4 years, that's $3.2 million in 20 years. People they can legitimately retire on that kind of money. And it's like people like you can provide those vehicles for them in a very passive way, where they can go back and they can serve others and passively invest. So I love it. How do they find you? What's the easiest way for them to understand what deals you have and connect with you?
Yeah, the best place to find us is at equitywarehouse.com. You can check out some case studies, how our friends and family co-invest with us. And if you want to check out any of our content, we're on all the social sites under Equity Warehouse. You can see podcast clips, reels, all the fun stuff we do on a daily basis. And, we just try to share our experience with what we do and transparent and honest as we can get. And we want to give people behind the scene looks, because whether you want to operate it yourself or you want to do it with us, you need to know what's going on.
It's great. Ian, I appreciate the time today. Love the mission you guys are on. Love what your company is doing. I appreciate you being a part of the podcast today.
Yep. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Ian. All right. I want to say a quick thank you again to our podcast sponsor, which is CV3 Financial Services. When you're taking on a new real estate investment project, having a trusted lender is key. Count on CV3 for your fix and flip, rental, cash out, or refi. A rate and term refi needs, visit cv3financial.com/think realty. Before we jump off the podcast, I also want to do a big push for a brand new opportunity that we have coming up this summer on July 31st. We have a virtual summit. We used to travel the nation and we used to do events all over the country. We still do 2 every single year. As a matter of fact, this year we did Phoenix, and we also have Orlando coming later this year. But we wanted to reach back out to everybody that we've done. As a matter of fact, you just heard Ian from Baltimore. We used to do conferences every year in Baltimore. We've done DC, Long Beach, California, Dallas, Texas. And we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for everyone to come back into this environment. And so we want you to join our sessions and roundtables to receive everything you need to navigate this election year investment strategy. If you don't know it, right now, we're going into an election year. Did you know that over the last 4 election periods, there's always been an interest rate drop? What are you doing to prepare for what's going to happen in this election cycle? Because a lot of people are going to sit on their hands and they're going to miss the opportunity. You can make money in every single real estate cycle. This is a cycle. You need to understand it. You can come be a part of this on July 31st. Tickets are only $24, $24.99 to get a complimentary access for you and a friend by joining our Think Realty Plus membership for only $14.99 a month. You can get everything we have, plus you can get free tickets. And if you use the coupon code LAUNCH, LAUNCH, you can go to visit to thinkrealty.com/summit 2024 for more information. And I hope to see literally thousands of you there at the virtual summit on July 31st. Thank you so much for watching the podcast or listening today. It's our privilege to serve you. I hope you'll go give Ian a follow. Check out what they're doing over at Equity Warehouse. Really great mission, really great group of people, and love what they're doing. And I know that they'd love to connect with you. Have a great day.